For those with good taste.
Welcome back, Tasties and Tastettes, to another episode of FTW GT Weekly.
Hey.
It's your boy Lenny, joined again, as always, my producer extraordinaire,
Dante.
and the man in the chair, T33. Ray. Sorry, I was hoping you would just fill in the line.
What's up, guys?
All right, cool.
You just won't do it.
No, I lobbed it up for you. You didn't fucking slam it home. And really quickly, before we start, like, comment, share, and subscribe to the podcast down below. Thank you. Air horns, please, Dante. Perfect. Let's talk Agatha, shall we, boys?
Sure.
Yeah, okay, never mind. We won't.
No.
God. Damn it, I swore. A minute in. You're not supposed to let me do that. I'll start. I think that this thing's a fucking mess. Can I just say? I think this series is a mess.
Yeah.
It had me for about 6 episodes. I think the last 2 or 3 or whatever. It's 9 episodes total, right?
Yeah.
So I think 7, 8, and 9 were a mess. Swore again. Damn it.
That was like your third or fourth one, but whatever.
Good point.
7 was like the best episode of the whole show.
All right. Well, 8 and 9 were a effing mess.
8 felt like a finale, so I was very surprised when there was still one more.
And then 9 ends with the like makes you think there should be another episode.
Yeah, I feel like there was kind of a lot left unanswered, but I definitely enjoyed the whole show, I think. More than I guess you did.
I'm not saying I hated it. I just think up until maybe it was episode 7, if that's the one you're saying is the best one, I was like, well, this is like exceeding my expectations. I'm enjoying this, but it was slowly after episode whatever one that I like last time we talked about this, I hadn't watched up until yet, but you guys had watched a little further than me.
Boss dick got to stay limp, right?
Whatever one you guys had watched a little further than me.
Watch your fucking hands.
Well, dude,
bro.
look what you did. Why is it there?
Because that's where I wanted it, all right?
Like, you put this in my fucking space.
In your swing zone?
Yes. I was like, oh, this is an Agatha show. And then all of a sudden, I just think the show decided to be a teen show. And I'm not talking One Tree Hill. I would have loved that. I'm talking about that little kid in the fucking outfit, dude.
Billy.
Sure. William.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But like, I
heard it both ways.
I think that's where it kind of lost me a little bit, was just it spent all this time building up like Agatha stuff, and like you were curious about the teen, but then it was just like, let's speed run a story arc for the teen and his whole thing instead. And then it just, I think the wrap up is a little bit, it just undoes the whole show too.
Yeah. I'll give you that. Because it very quickly became less about Agatha and more about the teen, and just kind of closes out on his side of the story. I mean, it gives you a little bit more of like Agatha, but like it definitely focused more towards him.
I think she was the draw when they created the show to get people in to watch it, but the plot obviously like turned into it being a Billy or Wiccan like origin story.
Well, and I think that they thought once they tied it into WandaVision, that would be like, well, people won't care about hearing about Agatha anymore because we've introduced the idea that this is like Wanda's child, and we need to go with this storyline. But then I almost just think that I would have maybe wiped out or like not done some of the episodes like 4 or 5 or something like that, since none of the road was fucking real anyway. So why do we have to follow the rules? And allow more time to breathe on like the teen, like his story arc, instead of, like I said, like it just felt like towards like episode 8 was like speed through the road, right? The end of the road. And then it was like epiphany. The road might not be fucking real. And then speed run the rest of the teen story arc within 1 episode.
Yeah.
You know? And I honestly didn't love Ghost Agatha either.
Yeah. I thought that was kind of, that was a weird choice.
Yeah. I thought that was stupid. And to boot, the fight.
I was gonna let it slide.
the fight, the Agatha and Dr. Death fucking fight was kind of weak too.
Doctor.
That was definitely kind of pointless because like Billy gives up part of his power
Pussy move. Let's
to
just call it
you
like
know
it is.
to power her up, and then 45 seconds later it's like, oh, we can't do this. It's got to be one or the other. It's got to be one of us.
Yeah, like first of all, why did he give up the power?
Yeah,
Like he was pretty dead set against it, and I know they tried to explain why he like.
I feel like maybe because like she literally just potentially helped him save his brother. So
And I think also like the angle they were playing the whole show is he's the only person that ever saw any good in her.
I get that, but yeah, to Dave's point, from a story perspective, like it was pretty counterproductive the way it played out. That she received the power, it did nothing to like help her. Like it didn't advance anything for her, and then she literally just dies. So
It didn't even
Yeah.
give me an interesting fight.
no, that's
No.
what I mean. Yeah, yeah. Like the little part where like what's her name tells her ahead of time, like, hey, there's gonna be a like when she says this
Oh,
duck
yeah,
was like probably the best part of the whole fight, basically. And like they do the cool prosthetic look on Aubrey Plaza, but like it just didn't really do anything. It didn't really play into much. I thought some of the background like stuff, like the flashback stuff, was cool. Like between, I thought the teen stuff was really good
And the
for the
stuff with
flashback, and then
Agatha
the
and her son.
Agatha stuff was interesting too.
Yeah.
Because I also read today, like I missed this when I was watching it, but she says like I'm not. She's talking to her son, and she's like, I'm not clairvoyant. I'm not whatever. Like, and she lists off like 3 different traits, and that was the coven, the people in the coven that she went and found. So she told the kid like, I don't have the ability to be these things for you. And then it turns out like she goes and finds people to be those things for her.
Interesting.
I think that there's kind of just a lot of like frustrations and somewhat plot holes that like cropped up towards those last 2 episodes that kind of made you ask a lot more questions than were being answered. What I find enjoyable about this show is once you get all these like reveals at the end of the show and you start looking back at like episode by episode, there were so many clues and so many breadcrumbs sprinkled throughout all of the beginning of the show, like that could have kind of clued you into where this was all going. And that's kind of something that I at least enjoy about like Marvel and like the overall thought of
That there was like a plan.
yeah, there was a giant plan, and it wasn't just a kind of mess just to throw a story together to get Wiccan, like some of their other shows have been over the last like kind of 3 or 4 or 5 years.
But so Agatha is the one who creates the road based on him, right? Or is it he
What do you mean?
created?
No,
he created the road.
He created the road.
She created like the whole song
The
and
song.
the tale of the road.
Got it.
He's the one that created the illusion to make it real.
Okay, because so she, but how'd she know? So she created the song to bring in other witches years.
Yeah,
ago.
because they
Yeah.
showed like
Yeah.
at the end like how her intention the whole time was to just get them all to hit her in the basement so she could kill them all, as she has been doing for years. But then the door opens and she's like, "Oh well, what the fuck?"
Yeah, what is this?
Yeah.
What did you guys think of ending it the way they did, like open ended like that?
I think they're setting up for a season 2, obviously, right?
I get that.
Yeah, well, I don't think it would be a season 2 of Agatha all along. I think it would be Wiccan. Like
He
season
would get
1.
his own show.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I don't
and then
like the
she's
fact
just kind
that,
of a ghost sidekick.
yeah, I don't like the fact that like she's gonna tag along with him now as they go try to. What did he say when they were walking away? Was it to try and find Tommy?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, like that's definitely what they're going to do. I just didn't like. To your point, I think since it's probably not Agatha season 2, it doesn't bother me as much. But I just think it's a bit presumptuous with with Marvel right now with their TV show success, and Disney for that matter with their TV show success, to be open-ended finishing stuff with this idea that like people are gonna like it enough to get a season 2. But I guess the other part of this is like they're gonna make it anyways, so like
Yeah.
who cares?
And
you
people
know?
are gonna watch it anyways. So
But like to varying amounts.
yeah,
I don't know where it ended off with for viewership, but it's not like Disney has been blowing it away with like viewership for their properties. And again, like, this is definitely meant for TV. This is not a character that I think is deserving of being in like the movies at this point.
Not yet,
so it
no.
needs the TV shows to progress its story. But I don't necessarily love the idea, because I don't know that this has a real impact at any point in the near future on the grander stage of the MCU. And so it kind of struggles again with like, what are these TV shows really for?
Yeah, I agree. I think I kind of wanted to make like another point like later on, but it kind of fits with this. Is like, so you think to like, what is Marvel? Are we in phase 5 now? So we've surpassed phase 4.
Yeah, they just basically were like,
which
we're
I think
done with
was
this,
a
yeah.
massive failure.
Yeah.
But like, you think about like phase 1, right? All the movies that led up to the Avengers, right? Massive hits, but like, what were we doing? We were setting up our main cast, right?
Mm-hmm.
You had Captain America, Iron Man, Hulk, Hawkeye, Black Widow.
You had Vision.
If I missed, not for the first one.
Oh yeah,
but
okay. Ultron would be
second movie then sets up Wanda, Quicksilver, and Vision. Third movie or Endgame and whatever, and like obviously brings in a whole lot more. Your Ant-Man's,
We have Ant-Man,
Black
Spider-Man,
Panther,
brought in Black Panther, yeah.
but all had like plenty of time to kind of set themselves up going into the big picture. Phase 4 to phase 5, man, we are getting so many just like C, D tier characters so quickly. Everything just throwing whatever we want against the wall, see what sticks, and then, you know, hey, we'll build a team out of the ones that people like. That's crazy.
Yeah, it's like doing like it's like doing sourcing from your audience to see what we should use rather than just but at the same time we have a plan that will force feed to people anyways. What was the first show from Marvel? What was the first Marvel property that got a TV show? Was it WandaVision?
Yeah. And then Loki quickly afterwards.
Like the initial run of TV shows.
So those first two shows were good.
Where it was main characters. Even into you got Hawkeye, another main character, to a point, like not like a premier Avenger, but to your point, was in the established cast.
Yeah.
Then you also got like
Winter Soldier and Falcon.
Exactly, where you were like setting up those characters and giving some like background because you knew you were going to introduce them. But then you've gotten these collection of other shows that feed not at all, like Secret Wars, She-Hulk,
Miss Marvel,
like all of these things. I guess Miss Marvel played into the Marvels, right?
Right.
But for the most part, these characters aren't here to advance anything, which I think diminishes the appeal and why I had gotten away a little bit of even really being that interested in watching this to begin with, because I don't believe at this point that this stuff truly feeds into the bigger world. I even question with Daredevil what his, like, I'm excited for that show, but what part is he really playing in the grander scheme of like the universe, because he can't match up in the movie scale
with big powers. No.
Yeah, like so like he's never going to
covers
exist.
A tiny little grant. I don't know exactly how big Hell's Kitchen is, but like a fucking 10 by 10 block of New York City. Like,
yeah. I think I'm more, and we didn't even, what was the Echo was the other one? I'd like another one that just wouldn't matter at all.
What else? Like, I feel like it kind of feels like they're setting up a Young Avengers with Hawkeye, Miss Marvel, Wiccan, Ironheart, but I don't think they have a Young Avengers movie in their lineup.
And I don't think it'd be deserving of a movie. Because none of these characters are ones that are going to draw you into a theater. And on top of that, I don't know that like who's the villain to face them. Because Kingpin feels like the most appropriate villain for any of these TV, like the biggest bad that they can establish for me in the TV scape.
Well, he's already done Daredevil,
and he's back for this.
And he did Hawkeye as well.
Yeah, and he did Punisher, right? Or was he not in Punisher?
I didn't see the second season. That's on my to-do list.
Maybe I'm confusing the second season of Daredevil with what happened in Punisher. But either way, like he does feel like your peak for TV level bad for them. And like the most even matchup to where I could feasibly see him. He already beat up Hawk Girl or whatever the fuck her name is, Haley Steinfeld.
Yeah.
And I think like outside of the teen, like he could take almost all of those Young Avengers, and like it would be believable that they had to be matched up with each other to fight it, you know?
Before we kind of move off of like Agatha, were there any other like questions that you kind of had coming out of it? Because I have a few.
Nothing that like comes to mind.
Like there was like a slight question I have, but I think it was kind of answered. Was like, what was the whole deal with her son? Like, was he just supposed to have been dead at birth, and then she was killing witches to keep death busy, or like
That's what
was
it's
the deal
with
with
that?
that?
Yeah.
So that's kind of like one of my problems was your son was essentially going to be like stillborn, dead at birth, and through your relationship with death, like she gave you the ability to have additional time with your son by fulfilling this, I don't know, contract of killing witches, right? So, you know, her son doesn't want to do it anymore. They both go to sleep. He gets taken away, right? She then, for centuries, continues to do
Death spitting.
what
basically.
Death wanted, continues to kill witches, even though she's not getting her son out of it anymore. She just continues to play her part, even though she never got it.
And that's why I
did
was
not.
like kind of like unclear on it. You know,
Yeah,
what I mean? Like, is
it
it just
didn't
a
sit
rage
well
thing
with
at that
me.
point, or like?
But I think like that was like it was just established that like I think she was bitter about her child and craving the power and like exerting that like killing all these witches was like cathartic for her. I feel like almost, which is like she's a bad guy, right? In theory,
Right.
So I don't begrudge that thought process as much versus if she was actually a hero. Like she's not even in this series. As much as I think you grow to like her through certain parts of the season, it's still very clear that she has selfish intentions through 90% of the show. And the teen is the only one that she made any decisions for in somewhat death, I suppose, but like that weren't for her own intent, like, you know, to help herself.
True.
No.
So the only couple other things that like kind of just didn't really sit well with me at the end is like you got no answers to how she obtained the Darkhold. Like the whole idea, like they teased it in like the third episode where like the Darkhold was sitting in the crib, so it made you kind of believe that she traded her son for the Darkhold. However, now we finally learn how she lost her son, and it had absolutely nothing to do with getting the Darkhold.
And again, if he created the road, why was that there? Because that's
True.
from his mind, not from her mind.
True.
I think he was in all their heads. That's where the trial was coming from. Because remember, he's a mind reader.
That's fair.
Well, yeah, the mind reading stuff, I think.
That
Definitely
probably
plays into
answers
that.
some of those questions, yeah.
We kind of got to scratch the surface of Mephisto in like episode 3, and then it just never kind of came back up.
But this is where I get back to, like, it feels like this was a bit of a mess.
Yeah, so like I thought when this show started, we got 2 or 3 episodes in, and it was clear that like they're walking down the road, there's a prize at the end of the road that will either bring somebody back or it'll introduce something to further the Marvel story. Now, like obviously it introduced kind of like Billy as Wiccan, but I was expecting something of like they didn't actually show or bring back Tommy. I was expecting maybe something in terms of Wanda coming back, or, you know, maybe us getting an introduction of a big bad with like Mephisto or something like that. And we kind of got none of that. It kind of just like left me wanting more at the end of it.
Yeah, I think that's where my gripes mainly come from, is like it just didn't feel like it's finished in a satisfying manner.
Yeah,
You know?
I agree.
So overall, I would say I don't think that this was great. It had moments that I really enjoyed, but if I'm like rating the overall season, it didn't execute in a way that like that doesn't have rewatchability to me.
I think it does, based on how many like breadcrumbs and stuff.
Maybe there's some Easter egg stuff that
Yeah.
you look at differently.
You
now.
watch a second time once they say something or you see something, you're like, oh damn, that fits in like 5 episodes.
But then-
But I also see a lot of throwaway episodes just pissing you off. Like, oh, this meant absolutely nothing.
Well, yeah, like there's just people who die for no fucking reason,
Yeah.
basically in it. In addition, when you rewatch something, it's because you're excited to like work your way through the process, right, and like get to the finish. And like, I don't think that I would feel any excitement going back in watching this.
It'd be like a hate rewatch.
No, just as a non-rewatch. So yeah, I give it a thumbs down, I think.
I'm
Overall.
kind of thumb in the middle, like you
can't.
said. Like,
You have to be up or down.
I'm just saying, like, there's points of it I liked. I just ultimately think the way it wrapped up, it didn't really lead towards anything, and that's where it kind of like leaves a lot to be desired. But
Dante, here's the thing with you. Like, you need to like be fucking assertive in opinion here, okay? Like, I like certain parts, but I hated everything about the ending. That's like means you just didn't like it. It's okay to just say that.
but
It's not like you reserve that for fucking Slingshot and The Substance. You won't say it about anything else.
I'm just saying, like, I enjoyed the ride. I can't say I hated it. I'm just saying I don't like where the final stop was.
If the last fucking 30% of the ride is trash, then it wasn't a good ride.
Okay,
Say it.
thumbs down, guys.
Thank you. And Dave, give your thumbs up.
yeah, I'm giving it a thumbs
Yeah,
up.
like,
I mean,
I knew
thought
where
it,
that was going.
thought it was good enough.
Yeah, like I knew you were going to give it a thumbs up, dude.
Yeah, it was
Huh.
enjoyable.
If me and
pretty much.
Dante were both giving it a thumbs up, you would give it a thumbs down.
He's stealing your title of the contrarian.
Yeah, it's fine. I actually like shedding that title. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not meaning to be like harsh on you, Dante, but I don't want to just like be like everything's okay. You know,
Yeah.
like we could literally just say
Everything is
everything's okay.
awesome.
I completely understand there were aspects of this show that were fine, but I can't like if you agree that it just fucking sputters to an end, like the car broke down.
Yeah,
couple
basically,
hours
like you
out.
get to the end and it was almost all for nothing. So yeah,
Thumbs down.
fair point.
You
Thumbs
guys
down.
want to do some news?
What you got for me?
Yeah, you got a newspaper?
No, nobody does. Okay.
It'll be
Fun-
a sick prop. Just whip out.
I got
Today's
a fun
editorial.
one. I got a fun one to start with, guys.
Crossword puzzle.
Snoop Dogg says he's working on a movie that's inspired by his love for Planet of the Apes, but it's with a twist.
Planet of the Dogs.
Just imagine it was dogs instead of apes, is the quote.
Saw that coming.
I don't read articles, so there might be more in the Variety article. But
No, that's perfect.
like Snoop,
Yeah, no, good shit.
we don't need that.
Did you see the like none of us play, but like the newest Fortnite season like trailer reveal?
No, I saw a little when I was scrolling TikTok of like people playing like season whatever remixed or something.
Yeah, I saw like a big trailer where it's like Snoop Dogg, Eminem, Ice Spice,
Juice WRLD's getting a free
Juice
skin.
WRLD showed up at
Yeah.
the very end of the trailer. Yeah.
Sick. Yeah. I like that they're doing what they can to stay relevant.
Yeah, I mean,
They are staying relevant.
yeah,
is the
they
problem.
definitely are. I mean, it always like their trailer. I think they do the best job out of any game development studio or whatever with constantly just like refreshing the exact same game and changing it up to be exciting and constantly moving through trying new things.
I agree from an outside perspective, and especially as people who played like Call of Duty a lot and stuff like that I appreciate that they like 5-6 times a year restart like new seasons with like new content, new skins. But I think if you actually watch the people like on Twitch or something that play that game consistently, they haven't had a good update in years. Like an update that like actual passionate like fans. And that's where I say to stay relevant, like they have a player base that's going to be there. Like these people who play it and they hate it anyways, like are always going to be there because it's just like the easy jump in shooter that the people are playing. But I don't think that like they've done anything to revolutionize. Like the best thing they've done in the past like 4 years has been introducing no build
Yeah.
and just becoming a traditional PR, you know? So like I think the skins are a cool cosmetic thing that they do, but I don't think that the gameplay has really changed that much.
Fair point. I mean, I don't have really much opinion on it just because I don't play the game.
I've maybe played 2 games of Fortnite in my whole life. It wasn't something when it first came out that I was like super interested in, but
I've definitely played a lot more than that, but I definitely also haven't touched in the past, 6, 7, 8 years.
Yeah.
That long?
Yeah.
Okay. I didn't know it was out that long.
Yeah. I mean, he must have signed that Mixer deal. Ninja must have signed that Mixer deal 10 fucking years ago now, right?
Now you're looking up when it came out? Fact checking me?
No, you're right. So came out about 7 years ago.
7 years ago?
So you would have played it for a while.
Yeah, so I haven't played it in maybe 5 or 6 years.
Yeah.
It's a game that I've never... I maybe played it once on Xbox. I never downloaded it on my PC. I remember somebody downloaded it on my Switch. But I never played it on my Switch.
I played early on, maybe season 3, 4, and 5 or something like that. I was heavily into PUBG when that first released, and I was anti Fortnite. But then I got sick of PUBG, and I was like, all right, let's find something else to play. So me and a few friends just played that for a couple seasons. I enjoyed it, but
I think if I was a keyboard and mouse player, I would have probably gotten more interested in playing it.
I mean, Nick Marks did just fine.
No, yeah, I mean, him and Aiden were demons on controller, but it was an anomaly. I still see TikTok videos now talking about their run as champions in Fortnite, because it was it made no sense that people playing on controller were dominating the way that they were. Okay, next up, guess the budget. Mission Impossible 8.
$250.
Anybody else in it?
Sure, I'm sure there's other actors in it. Yeah.
All right,
Probably returning cast from 7.
I'm gonna say 4.
$4?
Yeah.
4 million?
Yeah.
Can I get a
4 million.
400.
Okay.
Spot on, Dave. The budget is nearing $400 million right now.
What the fuck?
Paramount is interested in marketing this film as the final entry in the franchise to boost audience interest, but Tom Cruise is against a public goodbye to the character. $400 million.
What are they building a city for this?
The 7th one had a $200 and something million budget, and it broke even. It was their least successful movie so far. And now that was only as expensive as it was because of COVID stuff and all the extra things they had to pay for, and they had to restart filming and all this nonsense, right? This one being 400, I can't fathom this movie, a movie that does not rely on CGI, mind you, or a lot of fake shit. He's doing so much of it that I can't fathom $400 million for a budget.
They're probably gonna destroy a lot of stuff.
Yeah, a city's blowing up, right?
Yeah.
He's I don't want to CGI, because when the Kremlin blew up, that was not real, obviously. But he's just no, instead let's just build a city. Or maybe he goes to what's the so is it Japan or something where there's those ghost towns?
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about though, where
yeah.
they thought that the economy was booming at one point, so they built up these these
just
complexes.
Wherever the Olympics has been, you'll find
that too. Yeah. The ones though in Asia that are way more interesting because there's beautiful. I think it's also in Middle East has these too, where it's these beautiful buildings and stuff, but literally nobody lives in them, and it's just empty, abandoned cities basically.
Holy shit!
It's kind of
never
crazy.
heard about this. Now I want to look it up.
Yeah, there's some cool videos of them. But yeah, I love Mission Impossible. He might have to just say goodbye to the character though, because if you invest $400 million into this movie and it only does $500 million at the box office, you're not going to get another one for the foreseeable future. And it's not like he's young.
Unless he self-funds the movie.
Which he could, I'm
which
sure.
A lot of people seem to be doing.
I mean, Scientology could fund it for him too.
True.
How old is he? Late 50s or early 60s?
Late 50s, I think.
I feel like he's in his 60s.
Has he crossed 60?
It's just kind of I appreciate that he doesn't want to say goodbye to the character. I also think the man looks amazing if he's plus 60 years old. And I hate that people in Hollywood get the age 62. The way that he does.
3 for 3.
3 for 3, that's right. Yep. 62 years old. Fastest man alive, though.
So,
I'd like to see him go against Tyson Gay in a foot race.
What the fuck is that?
I think he was in the Olympics like 20 years ago.
Oh.
I didn't have any other names, and you guys burned Usain Bolt on me. Hold on. It's gonna suck if I just made up that name.
Who's the?
Can you just look up Tyson Gay for me? Real
the
quick?
American, the female runner?
I guess all women can do is run and cook, so I should know this. I'm kidding, dude.
Cut.
wow.
Cut.
No, I'm leaving that in.
Tyson Gay, American track and fields.
Fuck yes.
Nice.
Nice. That would have been worse than what I said about the women if I just made up a person named Tyson Gay. I'm impressed.
Oh man,
I'm up on my track and field shit, dude.
you're clearly back on
Sha'Carri
your,
Richardson is who I'm thinking of.
Okay, yeah, he could race her too.
You're clearly back on your run of trying to get canceled too.
Yeah, well, we got like another 45 minutes of this. I'll do what I can. Okay, last thing I have. Ridley Scott says he's developing a new Alien film.
Whippy.
I just want to say, clout chasing much, buddy?
Because didn't we just get an announcement of a new Predator film? Like,
Yeah, we're also getting a sequel to Romulus because Kaylee Spraney and the person who plays her brother are both in talks to return. And no, obviously, people, I know you can't clout chase when it was originally your franchise.
but somebody else brought life to it, and you're like, yeah, I'm back in the game.
Yeah, I just think that's funny. Oh, I haven't done a successful Aliens movie in quite some time. Mine have mostly been banned, but somebody did one, so I should throw my hat back in here real quick on this.
How does that work too? Like, is there like one owner of the property, or like?
I mean, I'm sure the company, like the production company, whoever it was, I can't remember who, is the one who owns the Alien franchise. But I think it's interesting that Romulus is within the universe. Like, it takes place in the actual Alien and Aliens universe. So if he's writing another movie,
and they're also doing a sequel to Romulus, like
that seems messy.
I mean, they had him as a producer on Romulus.
Yeah, but I think
that could just be like a consultant.
Yeah, producers are like candy on Halloween. Everyone gets it.
Okay.
Come on, guys. But you know what I mean? Like anybody can be a fucking executive producer on a movie or a TV. Like, that just means at some point they were making the movie and they talked to him about, like, what do you think about this idea? Or what do you think about that idea? And he consulted on the film, but it doesn't mean that he really had anything. And maybe they can have varying amounts, so he could have very well had more involvement. But
I get what you're saying, though. Like, it doesn't really entitle you to any sort of level of contribution. It could have been something as simple as he got a phone call and he's like, I'll only answer this if you put me in the production credits.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Like, yeah, hey, you were the one. Well, because did he only do Aliens 1 and 2 and then he didn't do 3 and 4? I think it was like Fincher who did the 3 and 4. And then he obviously did Prometheus and Covenant. We got to figure out somewhere for that picture.
Yeah.
So Dave, you had a list for us.
Yeah.
I'm excited to talk about.
So don't let Dante cheat here.
He couldn't see it if he fucking tried, dude.
Sad but true.
So
got me there.
Have you guys seen Rotten Tomatoes has a list where critics picked the best movies of the last 25 years. So basically everything from today all the way back to 1999.
So when you say critics picked, do they just take their highest rated movies or do they?
No. So this is very clearly not the highest rated movies in the last 25 years.
Okay.
There are a couple movies in here where I see like 80%.
Okay. Interesting. And when was this list created?
I believe this was published about a week, maybe 2 weeks ago.
All right. So Godzilla -1.
Godzilla -1 is not on the list.
What? This list sucks.
The list was always going to suck. So you wanted us to take some stabs at some stuff. So
take a couple stabs at a few things. That
Fast and Furious, the first one.
No. God, no.
Okay, so 1999, Gladiator.
Gladiator is not on the list.
Crazy. Black Hawk Down.
Black Hawk Down, not on the list.
That was that late?
That was 2000, I think.
Oh.
I'll say, as far as I know, I do believe there's one, maybe two movies from 99.
Hardball
I see two movies.
Mm.
I'll say you're close.
on Hardball.
Yeah.
So it's either a sports
The
movie or a Keanu
42.
No.
movie.
Um,
The Sandlot. No, that's
Close
older.
for
right
a
before.
different reason.
so
All right.
not for the sport. That they're
Keanu
playing.
or
So
Michael
it's-
B. Jordan.
Well, no, it must. Okay.
G baby.
R.I.P.
Black Panther.
Black Panther is the only Marvel movie on this list.
Okay.
I have to scroll way too much to give you what number it is, but it is on the list.
Now answer. Is that why he was close with Hardball?
No.
Okay.
Black Panther is number 24 out of 25 on this list.
Good for them getting on there.
Ugh.
It's crazy because it's not as good as Infinity War or Endgame, but like, good for them. Okay, so can you answer this? Are most of the movies drama?
Yes.
For a critical list, I would expect.
Yes.
Here's an issue that I'm gonna run into. I don't follow like Oscars stuff, so I just like Moonlight. Is Moonlight on?
Moonlight is on the list. Yes.
La La Land.
Moonlight is number 14. La La Land, no.
Interesting. Okay. Let's go with like what are some of the like DiCaprio movies that he did with what's his name?
There are no DiCaprio movies on this list.
So there's no Scorsese on the list.
There's no Scorsese on this list.
Interesting.
There's a movie that you and I talked about yesterday.
Buddy, I can't remember. You said that. I'm like, we talked. We talked a lot yesterday. I don't remember.
For the sake of our conversation, but not actually in this movie, William H. Macy.
Okay, a William H. Macy movie.
No. For the sake of our conversation.
Okay. So Whiplash.
Yes.
Okay.
Whiplash is number 17. There's movies on this list you guys will never heard of. as
Well, that's what I mean. The Pianist.
Nope.
I don't even know if that's 1999 or later. Do you have any guesses, Dante?
Right?
No,
Have you even said it one movie?
I've said a few, but
I've pulled 4
I got
off
shot
the list.
down.
All right. We got a Quentin Tarantino flick on here.
Hateful Eight.
Oh God.
No, the other one with Jamie Foxx. No, you said no DiCaprio.
Right.
Shit.
Hmm.
I'm not a Tarantino guy. Is the problem?
Brad Pitt.
Tarantino.
Once
Brad
Once
Pitt.
Upon a Time in Hollywood.
No.
See, the problem is I don't really know movies by directors.
Brad Pitt. Is Ocean's 11 on there?
Christoph Waltz. I mean, granted, he's in a couple. Inglourious Bastards, guys.
Okay.
Come on.
I mean, guys, transparency moment. Are we in the trust tree?
Yes, we are.
Have you
Never seen it.
Oh my God. Okay.
Never seen it.
Me neither, but that's expected.
Is that other Tom Cruise movie that takes place around the same time? Valkyrie on there?
There's no Tom Cruise on here.
I'm not surprised.
None.
Valkyrie is really bad. It's you know what's funny about the movie Valkyrie? Not that I've seen the whole thing. I've seen some of it. It's a movie that like they're playing Germans, but they're speaking in English with a German accent, although they're in Germany. So it's just like it's like, dude, you might as well just
Jordan
I like
Peele.
that.
Get Out's on there.
Get Out, number 13.
Huh.
Give me Peter.
Is The Blackening on there?
No.
I was just seeing a common theme. I was like, Black Panther, Get Out.
I mean, there's plenty of other movies here, but I'm going to start going through the list. Number 1, I could give you 1,000 guesses, and you would never guess what number 1 is, let alone the fact that this movie is
Who's in
on
it?
this list at all. If I say it, like, you'll get it, but like, we all think that this
Can
is
we do this?
we all think it's a great movie, but I don't think any of us would put it on this list.
Do you think I'd get it? Do you think he'd get it?
Dante
Absolutely
wouldn't get
not.
anything.
Let's try.
Absolutely not.
It's
Oh,
Dune.
if- No, Dune is not on this list.
Crazy. Can you just give Dante a hint?
I mean, okay, Sam.
30. Hold on. I want to put 30 seconds on the clock.
I mean, to kind
What's
of
the
just
point?
pick to connect it with Dune. Sand.
How's that supposed to help me?
It's probably the Matthew McConaughey hit Sahara.
Was it like war movies in the same?
It's probably the Orlando Bloom hit Kingdom of Heaven.
Is it Pirates of the Caribbean?
No.
When was that in the sand?
I don't know. Are they on a beach at some point? I've never
there's
watched any of them. You remember?
No
that?
Disney on this list.
All right, Dante, 30 seconds is up. You never even put a guess in except for Pirates of the Caribbean.
All right. So I'm going to go down the list. Number 25, Arrival.
I like it a lot.
Arrival's a
seen
good
that?
movie.
Nope.
It's on my voodoo. Jeremy Renner and what's her name?
Amy Adams.
Amy Adams, yeah.
Number 24, Black Panther.
I got that one.
Number 23, Paddington 2.
People love the Paddington movies.
That's what I hear, man. And
I've never watched
The new one looks pretty good, by the way.
number 22, never heard of this, The Tree of Life. And it's a Brad Pitt, Sean Penn, Jessica Chastain. Seems like a good cast. Never heard of it.
I also want to point out props to Paddington because like it wasn't that the first one got on the list. They snuck the sequel onto the 25 best movies.
Which has a 99% critic score.
Yeah.
Damn.
Good for them.
Number 21, Inglourious Bastards. Number 20, Zodiac.
Never seen it.
Also a good movie, but
yeah, I've heard
I don't know if I would put that on the list. First of 2 David Fincher movies.
What does he come out with since 2000? Because 7 was the one that kept coming to my mind, but that's 1997 that came out.
Andrew Garfield.
No, the only thing that comes to my mind is
True-
Heartbreak Ridge.
True Story. That's also a true story, but no. We'll get there. Number 19, Lord of the Rings, Fellowship of the Ring.
Fair. I'm a Two Towers guy, but fine. I'm okay with there being one on there.
One that
You don't think Return of the King should be on there instead of like Fellowship's the weakest of the 3 movies?
I think it being like the start of the whole thing. Like
that they're basically just
it's-
saying the whole trilogy is in there, but we're just gonna.
It's one of those things where I do think that Return of the King is the best movie, but Fellowship of the Ring is my favorite movie.
Boss dick got to stay limp, right?
Went soft, huh? I thought you were able to keep it up the whole time. You said.
Here's a movie like I don't know if I've ever heard this, but it's the first of Coen brothers. Inside Llewyn Davis.
I've heard of Inside Man.
Number
Great movie.
Not the
17,
gay porn.
Whiplash.
Whoa, no. Talking Denzel.
All right, I'm just making sure, dude.
Guys, we're pushing past that. Number 16, one of the 1999 movies,
Dude, that's
Magnolia.
the funniest gay porn possible. Just Inside Man, dude. All right, Dave, I'm sorry. Sorry to fucking derail that.
Number
Okay,
16,
continue.
Magnolia.
Steel Magnolia?
Nope, Magnolia.
Okay.
What?
Number 15.
Where's being John Malkovich on this list?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's fair.
Number 15, Dante's favorite movie, Everything Everywhere All at Once.
Okay.
It's not my favorite, but it's a good one.
I thought you were going to say Inside Man.
Number 14, Moonlight. 13, Get Out. Number 12, There Will Be Blood.
Not seen it either.
Number 11, the second of the Coen brothers, No Country for Old Men.
Never seen that one either.
Number 10.
I always get them confused as the same movie, by the way.
Well, they're back to back on this list.
Makes sense.
Number 10, the second of David Fincher, The Social Network.
That's the true story.
Yes.
Got it.
Number 9,
Is that movie overrated?
no, it's a great movie.
Okay, fair enough.
It's been so long since I watched it. I don't remember.
Proven wrong.
Number 9,
me.
I gave you the clue early on. You guys never clued into it. The Matrix.
Keanu.
Got it. Got it. I'm gonna have a gripe with a lot of this, so it's fine. Continue.
It's a weird list.
That's not a top 25.
I have a feeling that like a lot of this list, I think, leans more towards like cultural significance rather than like, you know, the best movies of the last 25 years.
Yeah, like that's why I was wondering why The Blackening wasn't on here.
Okay. Number 8, Pan's Labyrinth. You know, gets a lot of hype. I've seen this. I didn't care. Guillermo del Toro.
Which one again? Pan's Labyrinth?
Pan's Labyrinth.
Yeah, okay.
Number 7, the only animated movie on this list, Spirited Away. I have seen this. This is a fantastic movie.
Spirited Away, that was running in the theaters for like 4 months, I feel like, and I never watched it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's been like the anime movie that they've brought back every month in AMC.
It's the only, I think, Studio Ghibli movie I've seen.
It's really funny, actually. When I was at Danvers the other day, when I told you before the podcast, I like waited really long for my food, and there was these two like bros that were like waiting for food next to me while I was standing there, and they were staring at like they have the sign with like the anime movies that are going to be playing per month that like up at the checkout line there. And he was like, oh, like Spirit Away is playing. I've never seen that before, but like everybody says it's great. And I was like, in my head, I was just like, I honestly didn't think it was that weird, but because like anime is one of those things that I feel like everybody kind of watches now. Whereas before it was more of like a nerdy trope, but it was funny still, like these like bros talking about going to see Spirited Away.
No.
That movie about a horse.
Is that what it's about?
No, that's Spirit. Number 6, I've never heard of, movie from 2000 called In the Mood for Love. I think it's
right.
Aren't we all?
I think it's. It looks like it's set in Hong Kong. So
foreign film. Is that the only foreign film on the list?
I watched a movie called It's Tomorrow in
no, because I think the
week.
next one is a French movie. Number 5, Portrait of a Lady on Fire. Got nothing for you on that one.
Sounds intense.
I don't know if I'd watch a movie with a title that long.
Number 4, Christopher Nolan.
The Dark Knight.
The Dark Knight.
Good for them.
Number 3, a movie that's 84% critically popular or acclaimed or whatever you want to call it. Mulholland Drive.
Ah.
It's on my watch list. I haven't seen it yet.
Not on my watch list. Haven't seen it.
Oh, yeah. So you intend to?
No. Never, actually.
Number 2, Parasite.
Makes sense.
I think that makes a lot of sense. And number 1, guys. The number 1 critic best movie of the last 25 years, according to Rotten Tomato. Mad Max Fury Road.
Huh. Sand.
A movie that we all love, but I don't think a single one of us would say is a top 25 movie of the last 25 years.
Much less number 1.
Well, when you say it, it makes sense to me because I remember when it came out, Dante wasn't born yet, but like it was critically acclaimed. It won a ton of movie like awards, not just for like the movie itself, but for visuals, for sound. So I'm not totally shocked. Why do you keep looking at me like that?
Because didn't this movie like just come out like a few years ago?
I know, yeah, but you had never watched a single movie before that.
That's what. Yeah. Thanks, Dave. Yeah. You weren't born yet.
Okay. Yeah. My eyes weren't developed yet.
They still aren't, actually. Yeah, but like it makes no sense at number 1. But I get why it's on the list. I don't actually have a problem with that being on the list. I think it's very weird that a movie like Parasite isn't at number 1.
Right.
But this is. That's
I do think Parasite should be number 1.
Yeah. I think there's several movies on there that like even if I haven't seen them, like for the way people talk about There Will Be Blood, or that other movie that I always think's the same movie.
No Country for Old Men.
Yeah, like the way people talk about those movies, I feel like they should be higher than Mad Max. And like, I guess anything that ends up on these lists is kind of a niche film in a way. Like obviously Black Panther's not a niche film, nor was like a Get Out, or especially like Mad Max even, but they have like their own like like
Dark Knight and Glorious Bastards. There's a lot of just The Matrix, like, I don't know.
I just feel like generally when you're talking like the best movies that have come out, they're not like blockbuster films. Like Parasite is more of like the realm of that movie that should be number one. Also, really quickly while I'm thinking about there's a huge omission from this list.
Yeah.
The Notebook.
I didn't know which direction you were going to go, but okay.
There's no romantic comedy on there except for that French one you told me about the lady on fire.
I don't think that's a romantic comedy.
The Notebook's also not a comedy.
It's a romance movie.
Okay.
You know? Anything with romance is a comedy. There is that scene where he's holding on to the Ferris wheel, and he's like, "I'm gonna let go if you don't go on a date with me." And then they undo his pants and pull them down. That's a comedy.
That sounds funny. Never seen The Notebook.
That's fucked up.
Yeah, I've never seen any of the Sparks
I've never
movies.
seen it.
Yeah, I'm not surprised with you, but like him, he was born about 3 years ago, and all he's been watching is rom-coms. So like, I'm just shocked that you haven't seen The Notebook. Also, you guys say you're Goss guys.
I'm all about the hot goss. But
You're
yeah,
not.
no, I
You haven't
seen
watched
that
the movie that like launched his career.
I mean,
Yeah, because I've gotten to enjoy his career after that.
What are you going to say? Remember the Titans?
hell
Dave?
yeah.
That didn't launch his career.
Absolutely it did.
No, because I would then argue Murder by Numbers launched his career.
I've never heard of it.
Yeah, Sandra Bullock movie.
Yeah, he technically started as a child actor.
Yeah, I would also say
yeah.
the Disney Club, whatever thing,
Yeah.
launched his career. But The Notebook's what like,
Skyrocketed.
yeah,
Okay.
that was his hymns. Blue
Okay.
Chew.
The gas station pill.
Well,
Boss dick got to stay limp, right?
You keep bumping the fucking table.
all right, tasties and taste tests. Let us know if the list from Rotten Tomatoes passes the taste test.
No.
Finally, you give a definitive answer. Thank God. But we will let you know what does. But first of all, like, comment, share, and subscribe. Do you guys have it?
Do you have it?
You got it?
Taste.
Came a little early.
Well, we'll see if my mic even picked it up.
That's a good point. That's a good point. Where shall we start? Let's keep this brief, Dante, because and let's go no spoilers for the most part, but like let's really quickly talk Anora. Because I know Dave wants to see it, so I don't want to overly talk about it. And I hope everybody out there sees it too. This movie's fantastic. Really, really good. The fifth woman added on to my Ladies of the Year award, Mickey Madsen. She has successfully gotten there. Do you want to tell your interesting tidbit that you shared with me before we started the pod?
Oh, I mean, I was watching the movie and I thought she looked familiar. So I was telling Lenny, like, I had to Google to figure out what I had seen her in. And the first result that popped up was showing that the director for this movie actually found her and reached out to her based on watching her in the Scream movies.
Which is, yeah, cool. I didn't even register to me until you told me that she was in Scream. And then I was like, oh yeah, she was in it. Not like, and it's weird that that's what drew him in, because I don't remember her as being like great in that movie. Like, you remember those movies from Melissa Barrera and Jenny Ortega, I feel like, more than you do any of the other characters necessarily. So I thought that was interesting, but like, yeah, really cool. I saw an interview with her talking about how seriously she took this role, and like when she got cast, she wanted to really understand the character. She said so. She spent like 4 or 5 months training as a dancer. She was going to strip clubs and meeting with the dancers to learn about like the etiquette, which I think it comes through in this movie a bit with the behind the scenes stuff that you were getting there. She also talked about living in the area where her character lives for like 2 or 3 months, so that she could really like
dial in the accent,
and also like how the people there would like interact and like communicate. And I think that she comes through like, you wouldn't, when you hear her speak without the accent, you're like, you really got this role down, because like her character,
the funny thing is,
nuanced.
Like, I did watch a little clip of an interview from her, and like, she trained so hard on the accent she couldn't even completely dispel it in the interview.
Yeah, it's great. This movie's really good and a lot of really great performances, but without her, this movie is not nearly as successful as it is. There's like you get she's a very well developed character. Like I think the first 15-20 minutes you develop like this thing where you obviously see she's just a dancer and like kind of hard-nosed in that. And then you see her, the professional side of this, where it's like she meets a guy who's paying for her company, but you slowly start to see the walls come down. And then very quickly you see the shift of like the mistake of letting her walls down. Yeah. And you see it flip completely. You see her like tenaciousness with like the fights that she gets into.
Bro, like the first like fight is like,
it's hilarious.
The best thing in the fucking
That's where
movie,
when you're like, yeah, like it's a comedy. The part that I laughed the hardest at was the fight scene in the house. I thought was really, really good. So yeah, I think through and through, like the movie's great. I think it does a great job of having a lead character that I think you end up really rooting for, and feeling bad for, while also flipping the other characters, such as like her male fellow lead, who you like, I think, a lot for the first 40 minutes of this movie. And then from the second that house fight happens, he's like, you hate him. Like, he's just awful. You're like, fuck this guy. And you're like, I hate that she's still like trying so hard for him.
I think it's a little bit of like, I let my walls down for this, but also like, I'm chasing the bag.
Well, I think it's more, I think there's the embarrassment of like, leaving your life behind for it, but I think it's more what you're saying there, where it's like she's clearly not a person who lets her guard down, and when she finally lets her guard down, she, like that's her person now, and like she's very attached to it.
But then
I
she
think it was the
focus,
refusal to let it go and convince him like otherwise. But like, I don't think we need to go too much further into it. Dave, definitely see it. Like I think it's fantastic. I have it rated really highly. I have it a lot higher than you do, actually.
I thought about putting it higher. I don't know. My list needs work.
I reworked a lot of my list this week.
Yeah.
I hope it gets more of a theatrical release because I'm not a traveler.
Because there's like more stuff that I have.
Go to assembly? Like that's not too bad for you, is it? No.
Nah.
Okay.
There's more stuff that I have higher that I think needs to come down, but then there's also stuff among it that I think needs to be up. So I just need to rework the whole list.
Yeah, so I gave it 3.5 stars. I might even be willing to bump it to 4.
I initially gave it 3.5, and then I just dropped it to 3. But
I have it at 13 on my list.
Okay, nice. I gave it 3 stars, and I have it at 25.
You know the thing that's getting me, Dante, with Letterboxd, that's like making me do that. Do you ever look on your front page where it shows everything you rate?
Oh, no. What?
So go to profile. Scroll up.
Oh, profile. I see.
And then I looked at I'm like, I barely have anything in 4.5 stars. I have nothing in 5, and I have nothing in 0. Or I have like one thing in like maybe half, but like so much of it's just at 3 stars. That I was just like, this movie is better than just being in the middle of the pack of a million other movies.
It actually, if you hover over it, it tells you how many. So like I'm holding on to it. It's telling me I have 35 movies and 3 stars.
I have 104.
Well, you've been doing this a lot longer than
I have 64 and 3.5 stars. 24 and 4 stars. 4 at 4.5 stars.
Damn.
I have 2 that have gotten a half star. Can you guess which ones they are?
Half star, 65, and...
Well, it should be Megalopolis, but I know it's not for you.
I forget what your lowest rated movie is.
I mean, you have one of them. And the other one's pretty obvious, I feel like, too.
So then ISS.
No.
No?
No. It's
The Substance. No you like that one.
Pretty highly.
Fuck. What was the other movie I hated?
It's not one that you hated. It's one that I hated. It's last year's list. Expendables, dude.
Yes. The 17-minute rant.
Yeah. Okay, yeah. So highly recommend Anora. Fantastic performance. Maybe one of the best of the year. So let's talk, Dante, about the one other movie both of us saw before we get into some like solo stuff. So we both saw Your Monster.
We did.
Melissa Barrera film. Big fan of her off of the
Scream as well.
movies, you know. So this was one I was looking forward to, but I wasn't sure what I was gonna what we were gonna get out of this necessarily.
I kind of went in expecting almost like a Beauty and the Beast parody.
I think in a way that's what
it kind of was, yeah.
What you got. But with like the appropriate, because Melissa Barrera at this point is kind of establishing herself as like a horror queen, between Scream and then also she did the vampire movie at the beginning of the year. Abigail. Yeah. So like she's kind of established herself in this genre. So I at the whole time I knew that there was like a twist coming, you know?
Yeah.
And I guess I'll ask you this. And we'll do more spoilers here because are you going to see this or
No?
Okay. So when did you start figuring out what was happening?
As far as
like the finish of the movie?
I don't think I foresaw that.
Okay. So I was curious from the very beginning as to what was going on. So people out there, just like, if you don't know what this movie is, basically Melissa Barrera is sick. She's diagnosed with cancer. She gets sick while she's in the hospital. Her boyfriend breaks up with her. Her boyfriend had been developing a musical that he had told her he was going to cast her as a lead role. It was going to be a huge break for her. He wasn't willing to stick with her while she was getting better from cancer. And he breaks up with her in the hospital. And this leads to her having to move back into her mother's house on her own, but her mother's away traveling or whatever. And so the first night in the house, she hears like a loud bang upstairs, doesn't really think anything of it. And then next night, hears another bang, goes up and looks and finds a monster is living in her house with her. And at that point, I love the idea that he's just like bullies her out of like,
yeah. He's like, you got 2 weeks.
Yeah, you can't stay here. I'll give you 2 weeks. Yeah, like you. And I also like the idea, and I think these are the things where, like, kind of what we were talking about with Agatha, where I think if you rewatch the movie, you'll pick up on a lot more of this stuff. But even the idea of like, yeah, you've seen me a bunch of times in your life, you just don't remember me.
Yeah.
It's just her as a kid creating these things.
It's the
in
whole
her
like
imagination.
the monster under the bed, the monster in the closet. Like he's real. That's him.
Creating her in imagination. But I also realized as I'm watching it that like, it's just all trauma that she's dealing with, and she's created this thing to help her. And the thing that really solidified it was when she was in the park after the Halloween party, was where I was like, okay, this is definitely her overcoming like a mental break, or she fell further into it in some ways, I suppose. But like that motivation trying to dig herself out of this mental hole that she's like dug herself into, where she's just accepting throughout the whole beginning of the movie of like, it's okay that he treated me like shit. It's okay that he gave the role to somebody else. And she's constantly just like a doormat that is getting walked over. And it's this thing that's empowering
almost like a secondary personality.
It's her inner voice, like telling her to come out in some ways, you know? So I definitely started picking up on it. I kind of wish in some ways though, I like the way that the movie executes most of this stuff, but once you know the twist that, and we haven't even said it yet, but basically 3, 2, 1, if you want to see this, I've already hinted at it, but
she's the monster.
She is the monster, right?
Yeah.
But like the scene where she's dancing with him at the Halloween party, or like,
and
some of these things,
some of that stuff threw me off, and also I don't think I was looking for that kind of a twist because I was more so just comparing it to things like I said, first I went in expecting like Beauty of the Beast, and then I was like, all right, it's kind of that, but not quite. And then I was thinking it's almost more like Lisa Frankenstein.
I think it had a lot of vibes of that too.
Yeah, so like I don't think at any point I was looking for that kind of a twist, and I think that's why I allowed myself to miss it.
Mm-hmm.
But by the time it came up in the end, I was like, okay, that's actually a perfect way to wrap this movie.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
But yeah, I think it's like weird. I almost wish that they had given you like the quick thing of like what it was really looking like at the Halloween party when she's like
give you like that
with
flashback
him.
Scene where he was never there kind of
thing.
like
to tie some of this stuff together where you're like, or the scene of her in the park, like where she's having this like breakthrough moment, but it's because he's yelling back at her, saying it's not okay.
Yeah.
Like they had like the Good Will Hunting moment, you know?
yeah.
With each other in the park. And I almost wish you had seen how some of the, I think it would have made her seem crazier, which would have supported the ending of this movie more.
Like her actually just yelling in the park by herself.
Yeah. Like, or her like dancing on the dance floor drunk by herself. like some of these things I think would have reinforced the idea a little bit more. But I liked the culmination of everything, where it's like she just has this like completely like liberated and like free performance and is just crushing it. And I love the idea that the lead actress just gives up her spot, and it inevitably leads to her just fucking murdering the director.
Yeah.
Just and then just gives a performance, and nobody's concerned with the performance at the end initially.
No, I love
Like,
at the end when they're like, "Is this part of the show?" And they're like ready
This
to
is fucking
applaud.
good.
And, like,
Yeah.
they're like, "No, wait, he's dead."
Yeah. Wait, what's that guy in the background doing? Yeah. Oh, he's just laying there. His throat slashed from a fucking ruler.
And I thought, like, basically, like, you as the audience, like, the blood was so like bright red, it looked fake, that I was still thinking like, oh, this is just like a prop for the show.
Mm-hmm. Well, because at that point I was more in my mind of like, was that in her head too? Like how much of this has been in her head? And I almost like that they confirmed like, no, she just snapped finally, and like this was the culmination of like, yeah, it wasn't okay, all those things he did to me, and he's now again trying to bully me and verbally abuse me, and I'm not gonna fucking take that.
Yeah.
And her monster comes out again.
And I love that she goes, "I'm gonna rip out your fucking throat," and then does it.
Yeah, rips his fucking throat out. Which, because and I think with seeing the whole movie, I love the name Your Monster, because it literally is like
your monster. Like,
yeah,
it's
it
a
was.
monster
It
within you,
wasn't
yeah.
ownership over it. It wasn't like my monster that
Boss dick got to stay limp, right?
it wasn't my monster that like lives with me in the closet. It's like, no, it's the thing that's inside of me that is trying to come out.
It's kind of like a double entendre almost.
Yeah.
Like it means two things.
Yeah. It's one of the better movies this year I've seen with like that subtext.
Honestly,
thing
like
to it.
This past week was like a good run for movies,
I think I'm on a good like 3 or 4 week run. I think everything I've seen outside of Venom in the past 2 or 3 weeks has been 3 stars or higher. For
Fair.
me. I didn't do it that time.
You bumped the table.
No, I
You
didn't.
dropped your fist on the
My hand
table.
was never moving.
It did. You were like, Venom 3 stars, you know? All right. It happened.
So I gave this 3 stars.
I did also give it 3 stars.
Cool.
I forget where I put it.
48 for me.
Sorry, one moment. Oh, wrong app.
It's crazy that a half a star leads to a movie being
That much further behind.
30 spots.
So I want to ask you, like, based on like sitting over here and hearing a lot of your movie scores, what is your range of 3 stars right now? Your top 3 star to your bottom 3 star. How many movies fall in that zone?
a lot.
All right. Yeah, there is
I
a
think
lot.
too many.
So my top
That's
3
why
star.
I've been moving.
Okay.
That's why this week, like, I moved stuff up, I moved stuff down. Like, the thing's been fluid all year. So
my
my
top
lowest,
3 star is Long Legs at 21. And then my bottom 3 star is Which Brings Me to You at 46. Which,
So 25
yeah.
out of almost 100.
I think 86. 87.
So my top 3 star is, I think, Beetlejuice. Yeah, Beetlejuice is my top 3 star.
That one broke into 3.5 for me.
And then I go all the way down to
Beetlejuice at what?
hold on, I'll go back up and get that. Give me 1 sec. I just want to find my lowest.
Go.
It's got to be Monkey Man. Yeah, it's Monkey Man. So Monkey Man is at 47, and Beetlejuice is at 21.
Oh, see, I thought.
So our range is almost identical.
Yeah, so I have 26 movies in 3 star.
Okay, I
Out
thought
of
you would have
87.
had like 21 down to like 60 something.
No,
Okay.
no, I think I have almost just as many at 2.5 stars.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think 3 and 2.5 is probably my biggest sections as well.
Yeah, like I like reserving like those 3.5, 4, and I don't have anything really in 4.5.
I think you have Dune.
I have Dune,
4.5.
and I have Dune, and I think I also have Alien.
Yeah.
Alien's 4 stars. So I only have like four movies that are 4 stars or higher. Like, so I'm pretty tough on like giving anything like these, like this movie blew me away and like I'm super impressed by it. 2.5's like that perfect medium, like middle ground where Dante loves to live. And then I have like, a step above that primarily.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah. So 3 stars for me. And at 48, where'd you say 3 stars at what?
21.
No.
Oh, that was the start of your.
For
It was
what
close
was this
to it.
movie? You're a Monster. 28, I think. Yeah,
Okay.
29.
Cool. Okay. Dave,
Cool.
you want to tell us about Here?
I went and saw a movie in the theaters this week, guys, that you didn't see.
Huh?
Wow.
We'll be on it soon.
That's
but-
crazy.
It actually is kind of crazy.
I got rid of it from my list here. So yeah,
Womp womp.
I went and saw Here. It's kind of like somewhat ensemble cast, primarily Tom Hanks and Robin Wright and Paul Bettany. But it was very, I don't really know how to describe it, kind of like unique and just like cute movie.
So it all takes place in one place, right?
It all takes place over time from one camera shot that never moves.
Yeah.
So essentially, you have this one camera shot from the prehistoric time all the way up to like the 1600s. You kind of see this plantation being built and some of the lives in this plantation. You get to see some, like, then you back up in time. You get to see some like Native American
it's that
tribes.
movie, okay.
Yeah.
The reviews on it didn't look good.
And then,
I think it's going to be a divisive movie from a review standpoint.
like I said,
Not seeing it.
Yeah.
It's nothing special, but I think, like I said, it's unique, it's different, and it's kind of like I said, cute for what it does.
I appreciate the idea of trying to make a movie that is unique in that it is all just life over time in one spot.
Yeah.
And like it's going to be hard for an audience, I think, to keep your attention without camera movement or anything.
Yeah.
It is strongly driven, and I'm sure that's why you need so much Tom Hanks in it
Yeah.
and stuff, because it's going to be so heavily driven by like the actor that you have used that scenery.
Yeah. So like once you get the house built, it still goes backwards in time and then forward and back and kind of keeps just showing different stories. But like there's probably like I think like 4 or 5 different families that live in this house. And like what's like unique about it is like you'll see a scene, like Tom Hanks and Robert Wright, and they're in the living room talking, whatever. And then they'll show like they'll outline just a small square in the corner, and they'll gradually just change the scene to like now you're in the 60s and you see like this old portrait, and then the Tom Hanks scene ends and the older scene then kind of like squares up and gets the full screen. And that's kind of how they change between times, is they'll just choose
Show you,
another square and they'll change that while this scene's finishing and then widen that shot. And I liked it a lot, honestly. Like there was nothing crazy special about it. It was kind of just all about like, trials and tribulations of like marriage and love and raising children, living with your parents. And then like, I don't know. It was cool.
Are you a big Tom Hanks fan?
I mean, no, but like I like the guy.
Well, I was only asking because I feel like he's a person. He would do a movie like this, first of all.
Oh yeah.
But I feel like he's a person who like in our lifetime he's considered one of the best actors through our lifetime, basically, right? But I think for our age range, like there's movies we love, but then there's a ton of movies that he's done that we would never watch also.
Right.
Is what he feels like. Like and that's, I guess, where I say like he would pick a movie like this because it is one of those, like he makes a lot of things that are just interesting, it feels like, to him. And if you watch it because you like him, cool. If you don't watch it, whatever, because I like, for me, it's like, obviously, like a Saving Private Ryan, top of the list, but like I love The Terminal. I think that's a really, really good movie.
I love The Terminal.
Yeah, I think he's great in that. But then outside of that, I don't have a ton of Tom Hanks in the 2000 and later that I'm like,
Toy Stories.
Sure, that's fair. Yeah, but that like little different. But it's fantastic. It's awesome. Obviously, I love them, but it's like animated, not him. It's cool. It's crazy though. We say he's one of the best actors of our lifetime, and then you read off that Rotten Tomatoes list and he's nowhere to be found on that list.
True.
But I think it's because his best work that he built his name on was late 80s, early 90s, more so. Like Big, Philadelphia, Forrest Gump.
You've got
shit
mail.
like that.
Actually, the fact that Forrest Gump would
Would have been behind
before
yeah.
that list.
So that's what I mean. Like his movies that he has the most acclaim for, outside of
Earlier.
Castaway, like he has like hits, but a lot of them are in the 90s or late 80s. I feel like.
Yeah.
But you sounds like you recommend it.
Yeah. I put
How
it
long is it?
hour and 45.
Okay.
I put it at 3 stars, and it's at 18 for me.
Okay. Where's your list at for total now?
29.
Okay, so in the middle. Cool.
Okay.
Dante, you saw Smile.
Yeah.
So we're gonna run through that really quickly since I talked about it last week.
You already talked about it, so I don't think we really need to dive too deep into it. But basically,
Did you watch the first one?
Yeah, I watched Smile 1, timed it up immediately for the time I had to leave to the theater to watch Smile 2, so I got to watch them like right back to back.
Did you like how the beginning started?
I was going to say,
movie,
because you had set it up that way, that's why I wanted to watch it like that, and I love how it just continues
it's
into...
like literally like within the week of that movie ending. And like I said last week, that's in my notes. Like I love when movies, like especially horror movies, like it's something that like from Halloween 1 and 2, I've loved since then. Like when movies just pick up.
Having
right?
that continuity.
John Wick does that too.
Yeah.
With John Wick 2 into 3, I believe it is, or is it 3 into 4?
I never saw 4, so
Might be 2 into 3.
I don't recall it.
Well, actually, 1 into 2 starts that way too, because 1 ends with him killing him, and then 2 starts with him going to get his car back.
Yeah, it's true.
Okay, sorry. Anyway,
yeah, no, I mean, I was actually surprised, but I like these.
Yeah.
Again, it's just one of those things where I feel like we say this a lot, but it's not my type of horror, especially being like technically possession stuff, which is like my least favorite.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it tells it in kind of like a different way, where I feel like a lot of the other like possession stuff is like super like religious style demonic shit. This is more so just like there's a demon that's
you don't really they don't give you a ton of reason for why
they don't really give you a ton
exists.
of backstory to the demon, and while I don't think I necessarily love that, I think that's also what allowed me to just enjoy the movie. I do think the first one, I think I enjoyed it better than the second one, but I do like the whole thing about the way the second one ends and seeing
like
where a third one can go.
Yeah, they leave it in a fun place, I think.
Yeah.
I do think inevitably what you're going to find here is after they finish with this run, maybe the third one being the final and like this little setup that they have, you're going to get a movie that's called like The First Smile.
Yeah. Okay.
That'll maybe
give like a prequel kind of thing?
Yeah, that'll maybe give you the origins of where it came from. And like, because now you're also getting like, with the first one, you get the details of like like the cop puts together like the timeline.
Yeah.
And then in this one, you get somebody who had lost somebody. So like you're getting these people who are more informed on like this curse that can believe it versus going back to the, like if you did The First Smile, like somebody who has no previous stuff that they can go and find more information, has no idea why it's happening.
I did like the blips like out of reality in the second one. I think they used that really well.
They did it way more than they did in the first one.
Yeah, exactly. One thing I didn't like is that they didn't show her suicide at the end.
Oh, like they show,
they show the crowd watching her do it, but they don't actually show her killing herself, which the whole time I was wondering, because you had already told me like, hey, she kills herself in front of the crowd. So I'm thinking like,
yeah, they tee up what she's gonna do.
I know, but I'm saying like, all right, cool, she's smiling, and the only thing she has that she could kill herself with is this microphone. And I'm like, I'm curious how that's gonna play out, and then I don't get to see it.
I think the reason they probably didn't do that is because of the beginning of the movie with the way that guy kills himself. And not obviously it's a lot easier to understand how a weight plate would do that, but I assume it's just a lot like they're kind of similar in the way that it would have been executed, with her just constantly hitting herself with the mic till her face falls apart.
Yeah.
And I think doing the audience reaction, it was interesting for one, but I think secondly, because of what you know about the movies now, it leaves that question that I brought up last week of like,
they're all
has it now released itself to all of these people, or is it going to?
Because up until now, yeah, exactly. Like we just know that if somebody witnesses the murder, they catch it, but it's always just been one person. So like,
I think it just puts it in perspective. Like, wow, that's a lot of people that have now seen this.
Yeah,
you know.
I don't know anything about the movies other than the trailers and what you guys have said. The does she kill herself at like the very beginning of the concert?
So you don't really, the tough thing that you don't know is she's up until this point where she kills herself, she is in like an alternate reality state, basically. Like she's been having visions.
Okay.
Like the demon inside her head has been showing her this whole different thing. And then all of a sudden, like, I think it'd be the beginning of the show, only because the show, like when in the rehearsals,
because she's literally
starts with
coming
her,
up off the stage.
yeah, like she's in like a little like contraption thing that opens and she comes out of the smoke.
The reason I say it because I thought it was funny. I just saw a little like TikTok sketch over the past week of like just this guy sitting on a toilet, and it was basically says, or he's just like, you hear the crowd like start roaring in the background, and he's like, oh man, she's already starting. Like I always miss out. Like why is it always me?
And he walks
you know, he's the only one who gets saved in this.
Yeah, this whole ordeal. That's
Yeah.
fantastic. Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah. So what'd you give it for a rating?
I think this was 3 stars for me. Damn, I gotta be better about queuing this up. Smile. I'm scrolling the list. Oh, I put it at 2.5. It's at 51.
Okay. I think that's an acceptable score. Like,
Yeah.
I think 2.5 is the right score for movies where it's not a genre you're super into, but it was better than maybe you expected it to be. Kind of deal. Yeah.
I don't think it was good enough to push it into 3 stars, but yeah, no, that's where it landed.
And I had just one more movie theater movie. I saw Let's Start a Cult, little like indie movie. It's pretty small scale, not getting like a major release or anything.
It's a comedy, right?
Yeah, it's just a stupid comedy. So
no, I read the synopsis on it and I wanted to watch it, and then I saw it was only playing in Danvers, and I didn't feel like going out there.
So are you familiar with the lead at all, Stavros?
No.
So he's a stand-up comedian.
Okay.
He does like, I don't know if you've seen him on TikTok at all. If he does like the Baltimore Ravens guy. He has like he's a Baltimore Ravens fan, and he has like a bit. He does like these videos as a character from Baltimore talking about like the team and stuff. That's always really funny, and like a douchebag guy from Baltimore. And
yeah, okay, yeah.
And so I like him, like just in general, like when he's on like he's on some podcasts every now and again that I like and stuff, and he's always really funny. And I saw him promoting this movie, and I was like, you know, like interesting that he's making the jump as like he was in Tires, the Netflix show, Shane Gillis show, and he's really good in that too. But interesting seeing him in a lead role. And if you're into it all, his comedy, like this movie is very much just him playing the role that he does as like a stand-up comedian in this movie. Easy though, 1.5 hours, like not the best thing I've ever seen, but I thought it was pretty funny. It has some fun twists and turns. And I think it's one of those classic like 90s, early 2000s comedies in the sense of like, the lead character is kind of deplorable and like kind of an idiot for most of the movie, but he slowly turns into somebody you kind of root for, and he's able to become a better person throughout the movie. But basically the movie starts with him in like a cult, and the cult, he's like the asshole in the cult that nobody wants in it, and they're setting up to do their final like transcend, and they're going to do like the group suicide, and the leader of the cult, he fucks up again, so he just sends him out with the mail to go deliver a tape, and the tape was going to be like them documenting. They were sending it into like Dateline, basically, documenting the cult, so the leader of the cult, could get all this notoriety. And when he doesn't send the tape, he goes and like buys a fucking Slurpee instead, and accidentally spills his drink all over he falls over and spills the Slurpee all over the envelope. So he goes back to the house and he finds that they've all killed themselves without him. And he thinks that everybody's dead. And he's like, he goes back home, and his parents and his brother are like the worst people ever, treat him like shit, because he's an idiot. So he's like, I'm going to start my own cult. But then he realizes that the leader of the original cult is still alive and that he's not actually dead. So he goes and finds him and is going to turn him in. But then they decide to start the cult to get together. So they start and go and try and find people to recruit and everything. And like it spirals from there.
Okay.
But yeah, funny movie. Like I wouldn't tell anybody, like it's probably not convenient for most people to go out and find or see. But once it makes its way to streaming, which I'm sure is going to be probably in a month or something, I would definitely watch it. It's funny. With that being said, I gave it 2.5 stars. I put it in at 66.
Okay. I did make one more movie theater appearance, and again, we won't spend a ton of time on it because you've already talked about it. But I watched Piece by Piece.
Yeah. Okay. I saw you did. Yeah.
I liked it.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Not like
I think I
anything
gave it
like
3 stars. So
I gave it 2.5. Like not anything extravagant. But I think for like what it was,
2.5 actually. Yeah, I'm sorry.
yeah, for what it was, I think it was really well done. Just like using the whole like Legos and like to build like the atmosphere and kind of give a visual aid to what's otherwise basically a documentary.
Mhm.
Being that I'm not a fan of documentaries really at all, I think that was a great way to kind of rope me into getting intrigued in it. There was a lot of like fun stuff I liked, like, you know, like when they had Snoop in the room in the studio and obviously he's like smoking out the room, but they can't do that because the movie's PG, so they just do the spray that sprays out PG.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, I see what we're doing here.
Yeah. How did you feel about like it being a Lego movie though? Like, did you have the same feeling I did where it's a little weird where it's like it's Legos, so it should be for kids, but like it doesn't necessarily like I don't know the kid, like this is the Lego movie I'm gonna put on for my kids. Aside from it has good music.
No, it's not. No, the Lego aspect was clearly just a visual aid to tell the story and had nothing to do with trying to make it for kids. I think if there were kids watching this movie, they would be highly disinterested.
Yeah, like you saw it a few weeks after it came out, so I'm sure there wasn't a lot of people. We weren't touching the table, by the way. I'm sure there wasn't a lot of people in your theater, right?
It was pretty empty, yeah.
2 things. How impressive was his high school? Like the people he went to high school with.
Oh,
like,
yeah, right?
Like Timbaland, Missy Elliott, who else?
I forget.
There was like 2 or 3
was
other
it
people.
Nori too?
No, he was somebody who helped him like when he first got to New York.
Okay, yeah.
But his high school was crazy. Like the people he went to high school with was nuts.
And then also like when they were just showing like his ascension in production, like just realizing all those different hits that I didn't even know he produced.
Well, that's
like,
what I was.
You
that
had
was the
spoke
other
about
thing,
that,
like,
yeah. But like,
how impressive was his?
Just like watching that whole like, I guess you could almost call it a montage. I was like, holy shit! Okay, he did that.
Like this guy is super impressive with like I know how good he is.
Yeah.
But yeah, you don't realize the scale of stuff that he touched in music through our growth years. Like
no,
you know,
like he was like the guy in like the early 2000s, basically.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy when you put it in perspective. Last thing, did you think that the Kendrick Lamar ending was like a funny? Like I just like that it ended with Kendrick Lamar of all the songs. Like
I didn't find it funny necessarily.
Yeah, like
it was more
funny's
so.
Not the right word, but like you know, it's just like a tonal shift, kind of in a way. From
It is a huge tonal shift, but I think at the end of the day, like this is meant to be a documentary, and just in the timeline of things, that's where he progressed to. You know what I mean?
I liked like the Black Lives Matter parade, like in or march in like
Lego
a Lego form. Like
yeah,
it was just that's where I think it's just like
I got you.
a funny visual to put out.
No, the funniest visual for me was the PG spray with Snoop.
Yeah. Or when he wrote "Happy" and he's in the bathtub and everything turns yellow. Like I liked that a lot. Yeah. Okay, so 2.5 stars.
Yeah.
Cool. Any other things, guys?
I also watched on streaming. You guys talked about it, but Woman of the Hour and Caddo Lake.
Okay, so what do you think?
Honestly, I really liked both. They don't end up on the list because they're not movie theater releases, but I think they would both be 3-star movies, higher on the 3 stars.
Mm-hmm.
Especially like Caddo Lake being a Shyamalan movie, like that actually felt like a very complete movie. You know, I feel like usually it's like the twist and you get it and you get that mind blowing experience, but then it's kind of like it goes nowhere with it. Like this felt complete, and I was like, oh, okay, I see how that all ties together. I wish we would have got more lore about the woods and like why it time warps or anything, but I think that would have made the movie a little too long.
Yeah.
So I ultimately I like the movie. I like the way they made it. I think it's great. I just would have liked to know more about the woods, not necessarily within the movie though.
It's nice having a Shyamalan twist that actually worked.
Yeah.
Dylan O'Brien also was great.
Dylan O'Brien is.
Who could he be in Caddo Lake, dude?
Okay, gotcha.
like who could he fucking be?
Paris.
Sure.
That was his name in the movie.
Great.
Paris Lang.
Yeah, but he was fantastic, right?
Yeah, no, really good. I don't want to go too much into it. I don't know how to talk without spoilers, and I don't want to ruin it for you, Dave, because I do think you should watch it. But ultimately, I'm going to say this is a recommend, and I enjoyed it. I might even watch it a second time.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I'll throw it on at some point.
Yeah.
And then Woman of the Hour.
Woman of the Hour, also great.
Did you agree that you wish there was more of her character with the killer?
Yeah, probably. I feel like it was more of a leading up to that moment more than her like being with the killer.
Like I like that they give you so much background
On the killer
himself, so
yeah,
once you
yeah.
get to the dating show, you
know who he is. Yeah, you
and
feel
like,
that tension.
like you and like everything in the dating show is fantastic. Like I think that's the best part of the entire movie. Have you seen side by sides of the actual dating show?
No.
So that's a really interesting watch. Is go and watch that actual, like you can watch that actual dating show from that live like era.
I imagine it almost goes pretty much like that, right?
Yeah, the questions are a little bit different and stuff, but yeah, like it's fairly similar. But again, it's crazy that this guy's a fucking serial killer who has made it to live TV, and he's so brazen and thinks he's so not going to get caught for this shit that he was willing to go on
Live
like
TV,
national television and do a dating show to find his next victim, basically.
It was also just frustrating seeing like the amount of times like they tried to report him to police and it just got disregarded.
Yes. That girl, the girl who catches him though.
Yeah.
Like
the like final victim.
Yeah, like super impressive. And that's real.
Yeah.
That she basically psychoanalyzes this dude in a day to understand how to manipulate him to not kill her.
It's crazy.
It is nuts. Did you see her hand?
No.
That actress is, so I guess she's like, she hasn't been in a ton of other stuff. I looked this up because I noticed her hand in the movie. She has a physical deformity in her hand. She only has a pinky and a thumb, and she has like a nub for everything else.
I don't know how I didn't notice that.
Yeah, it's I noticed it like in a couple scenes when she was in the car, and I looked it up, and it's like, yeah, she's like a big, advocate, obviously for like physical issues, and like how a big advocate for not letting it like hold her back. And she's like, I've read some interviews after this, and it was inspiring in some ways, her talking about like, yeah, of course I've had times in my life where I've been jealous of other people, but instead I've figured out like how to embrace like what this is and not hide it from the world and like shit like that. Look her up after we're done on the pod. It's like, it's kind of interesting, like crazy when you see like the fact that you didn't see it. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah. Wow. Huh.
But yeah, the scene in the parking lot, last thing I'll say, like the scene in the parking lot, even though we saw it in the trailer, kind of doesn't play out
you don't
nearly
see
as,
when she gets to the car.
like it's so much tension just in a walk through a parking lot. It's crazy.
Yeah. Especially because like they both know what's about to happen.
Yeah.
So it's like
she slowly has figured out that something's not right here.
Yeah.
I also like just watching him at dinner, like lying through his fucking teeth, and every other interaction he's lied through during the movie, he's so suave that he's just able to think so quickly on the fly and lie. But like in that
he just gets to a
one-on-one
point
setting,
where he gets like fed up.
he couldn't get it with him. But yeah, cool. I'm happy you like both. Dave, again, I definitely recommend watching them.
Yeah, I will.
You watched something else though?
Yeah, I got a couple things that I watched streaming. So after seeing, at this point, I think 2 weeks ago, episode 7 of Agatha All Along, basically the tarot episode with Lilia, saw that it was marked as being the tied for the highest rated episode of a Marvel show with Loki season 2 finale. I'd never seen Loki season 2. Looked it up real quick, saw it was only 6 episodes, so I basically ran through that like 3 episodes at night, and then I woke up the next day and watched 3 episodes in the morning. So watched through that. Enjoyable. I don't think still nothing spectacular. Like I liked the first season. Didn't think it was like crazy good.
Yeah, I think the characters are just like, you like the characters, I'm sure.
Yeah,
right?
I mean, obviously like Loki's great. Jonathan Majors, I think, is like Victor Timely was good. Owen Wilson's fantastic. Ki Hei Kwan?
Yeah.
Kwan? Awesome. Can't stand Lady Loki.
No,
Sylvie. Didn't like her at all. I thought it was very annoying throughout the entire season 2. I thought she was okay in season 1, but
I liked her in season 1 more than 2, but I dislike her in season 2.
But ultimately, good show. Like I kind of want to start catching up on some of the Marvel stuff that I haven't seen. Next on my list for that realm is going to be Daredevil season 3 and Punisher season 2 to kind of make sure that I'm good for the Daredevil movie.
You have all the way till March. So
yeah. Also went back in time and I watched Interstellar for the first time.
Never seen it.
I mean,
It's a good one.
I recommend. It's a drama more than anything, kind of like science fiction vibes, obviously, but really good movie. But like,
It's like a
2
open your
hours and
mind,
like 50
conceptual
minutes or
kind of
something
thing.
like that.
Well, that's why I've never watched it. Like, I'm not a Nolan guy, and like, it's just too long.
But big time recommends. I think. I don't think I've ever watched a bad Christopher Nolan movie.
Again,
The only one I
shots.
haven't seen is Tenet.
I was thinking about this when you were doing the list for Rotten Tomatoes. Like, The Dark Knight gets on there, but it's crazy that Inception's not on there. Interstellar, I like everybody who's ever talked to me about that movie says it's one of the best movies they've ever seen. And then like Tenet, I think is the one that's the messiest of any of them people.
Yeah.
But it's weird to me that like Inception, you talk about cultural impact, like the cast for Inception, the thought process behind it. I think that like I'm kind of shocked that didn't make it on there. And then also a movie like Interstellar, again, a cultural thing where like I haven't seen it, but I know like it makes you think like him coming back from space and like time has passed by and all this shit. Like, I'm just shocked that it's not on like those lists.
Yeah.
Or more Nolan just doesn't find its way onto that list.
And finally, the last thing I watched last night. It's like a Netflix documentary. It's called The Remarkable Life of Ebalan. So essentially it's a story about this Swedish kid guy named Mats Steven.
Two first names?
He has a
Can't trust him.
Duchenne, I think it's like a muscular dystrophy type of illness. Obviously, gradually gets worse and worse throughout his life. Like as he's a child, he's kind of like normal, fine, walking, running around, having fun. And as he grows older, he eventually finds his way into a wheelchair and he can't move. And then as he becomes like a late teen into his early 20s, like he has no ability, like no motor functions, can't speak. All he can kind of do is move his hands. So he basically spends like the last like 8 to 10 years of his life basically sitting at a computer playing World of Warcraft.
That's why you watched it.
Yeah. And essentially, so like he ends up passing away at the age of 25. And his parents and his sister, I think his sister, are like heartbroken over the fact that, you know, he never got a chance to develop friendships, find love, and just kind of like have normal social interactions within everyday life. And they obviously know he's like played this game for the better part of the last decade, but like they don't know anything about it. He hasn't obviously been able to speak to them about anything. But they felt the need to, like, they had the password to his computer and they knew he had like a blog. They wanted to go on there and just let his online friends know of his passing. So they basically get into his blog and they kind of write down a story of like, hey, you know, we lost our son, brother today. To anybody out there who might have known our son, you know, like, here's our information, blah, blah, blah. And then they just got like a mountain of like email replies about the impact that he's had on their lives through gaming and friendship and everything. And it was really emotional, like when they got to that point. Then their guild leader of their guild, Starlight, within World of Warcraft, kind of reached out to them and was just like, hey, I've kept logs and compiled all essentially like audio or like text chat throughout our guilds over the last like 8 to 10 years. And he was just like, here's 42,000 pages of dialogue of like interactions that your son has had with like numerous people like throughout this world.
I didn't even know you could do that in the game.
Yeah, that was crazy to me. Like I think you could probably record guild chat, but like I don't know. Like it was
It's almost like he knew.
Yeah. But actually, so that was the thing. So then as they kind of went through like this story, then what then the movie turned into was they basically recreated a lot of Matt's Matt's interactions within the world with like, so they basically animated the World of Warcraft characters and interjected like the text audio and the audio, and they kind of had people reading parts throughout it. And it was really cool just like seeing the interactions of and the friendships and stuff, like the people he honestly helped, like a mother like find like she had an autistic son and they weren't connecting. He got the son to come into the game, which helped blossom like their relationship. It was really cool. And then like at the very end of it, like they showed 5 of like their guildmates coming out to the funeral, and
were they dressed in character?
Oh God. And then the guild leader gave like a speech at the funeral, or gave part of the eulogy, and just seeing the parents like break down to like see a physical person now who had an impact with their son. So yeah, it was very emotional. I teared up a little basically towards the beginning when they kind of first like talking about like reaching out to their online friends, whatever, with the blog. And then again at the funeral was kind of like tough to watch, but overall, like I obviously really enjoyed it. Being somebody who's played the game for a very long time, spent a lot of time within that world, made a lot of like friends and connections, which, you know, over my lifetime has petered out a lot. Like we had very, very close knit groups and connections throughout the first couple of years of the game, but then, you know, life happens. We all kind of step away from the computers, step away from the game, and I've definitely lost track of a lot of those guys. But no, it was a very, very nice story.
I think it sounds like a very good documentary.
Yeah.
Like I don't know if I'll watch it or not, because I think it is like, you know, very attached to World of Warcraft, and it also sounds like I'll cry, and like I don't know, it's a lot.
You like to cry. That's
yeah,
why
I
you
can,
like
but
romance.
I can find so many other things to cry at, dude. But it does sound really good. And I don't know, I like it does give you like faith in like, I don't know, faith in humanity, whatever it is. But like, it's always nice to see those stories, and it is crazy that people, I think, diminish sometimes what like online community can do, because we see so much of what like Twitter looks like, and just like a negative like cesspool of not being real life and the way you speak to people and communicate with people.
Yeah.
And even like growing up in like Call of Duty chats and shit like that, and the way people just say the meanest things in the world because they know they can. So it's always like validating to see like the good that comes from the ability to talk to people that are on a whole other continent, or, you know, different place in their life, or whatever it is, and like the connections and the people you can meet. So like, yeah, it definitely sounds good in that regard. Speaking of Netflix and documentaries, the only other one, and you won't watch it, but I don't know if you have any interest in it, the Comeback, the Red Sox 04 team.
I didn't know that this was a thing.
There's a 3-episode documentary about the 2004 Red Sox on Netflix.
Okay.
Anybody New England who obviously grew up through the 90s, like anybody older than that too, but it's like for us where we are old enough to remember the curse and like the shitty times, and not just this like current day of where we've won several championships and the Red Sox just don't feel like they mean as much to Boston in that regard anymore. Basically, this documentary takes place from like the end of 2003 with the Aaron Boone walk-off, all the way through the 2004 season to them finally winning the World Series. It's really good. It's it's 3 hours. It's an hour for each episode.
Cowboy Up.
Cowboy Up was 2003. The 2004 was Bunch of Idiots season.
True.
But like even going back and watching like the Nomar stuff, and like that was all taking place
Trading
like in the
away.
early 2004. He was still on the team, and watching that all play out, and like even just watching like Theo Epstein and like some of these guys rewatching like them going to the World Series and beating the Yankees, and like them getting emotional watching it, like it still means that much to them. Like it was just really cool. I liked it a lot. It was a lot of fun to kind of relive that stuff, because that was where I was still heavily invested in baseball. I think like a lot of us,
same.
You know, like once 04 happens, it was where we kind of start to trail off a little bit because we finally got there.
Right.
But it was really cool. And it actually led me to watching Fever Pitch.
Okay.
Which Fever Pitch kind of irritates me now because Jimmy Fallon's a Yankees fan.
I mean, I'm not going to say that it's a good movie, but like I enjoy that movie.
Yeah, it's good. I love that the original end of that movie was supposed to be. Do you know this about this movie, Dante? So like, have you seen Fever Pitch?
Yeah, I have.
So like that movie was supposed to end with the Red Sox losing.
That
Like,
movie was made prior to their actual championship run.
So it was assumed we were going to lose in heartbreaking fashion again. So they had written the movie, filmed the movie as if we lost again. And then all of a sudden the Red Sox go on a fucking run and end up winning. So they have to redo the ending of the movie, and they managed to get
fast forwards through like the whole playoff series essentially, just because like they weren't ready for it, and then they had to kind of film some scenes on the fly, and then when they go to St. Louis to basically sweep the Cardinals, Jimmy Fallon and Drew Barrymore, like they got tickets into the game and then got permission to also run onto the field and like storm with the players like and celebrate. So if you actually see the real celebration of the Red Sox, you'll see Jimmy Fallon and Drew Barrymore running on the field with them.
Holy shit. Okay.
It's also funny in self-contained to the world of Fever Pitch that they're on the field. Like there's no reason why we would let these two because she stormed the field in that game and gets fucking arrested, that they somehow were allowed to go to the World Series and go on the field. Like it doesn't make any sense why they're allowed to go have a makeout session on the field during the celebration as fans, aside from it just being a movie. Like it's not explained. There's no plot point that explains why he's able to, like, he didn't win a fucking competition. Like,
that's just good promo.
Yeah, it's just so funny that they're just able to run out on the field. So yeah, Fever Pitch, not an amazing movie, but I think it was just like I was coming off of like that nostalgia stuff, and I was like, why not watch Fever Pitch? And Jimmy Fallon was on Hot Ones this week, so that also spurred me to wanting to watch the movie. I've also been watching Jimmy Fallon break character on SNL because I think it's funny.
Oh, so finally watching SNL skits.
My TikTok is a ton of SNL skits. And then YouTube, I started looking up like Will Ferrell breaking character.
Jim Fallon breaking and Bill Hader.
And Bill Hader was the other one. I watched like a 10-minute of him breaking as Stefan or whatever.
And dude, him on the Californians. Like,
yes,
breaking
that one too. Yeah. I was trying to find Kristen Wiig because she's in a lot of those Bill Hader ones breaking with him, and she doesn't really have her own videos for her breaking character, unfortunately. But I forgot how good she was on
she was fantastic.
SNL.
Yeah.
Anything else we had, guys?
Nah,
we've gone for too long. Let us know if we missed anything out there, what you've been watching. If you've watched any of the shit that we've been watching, please let us know. Are you going to watch any of it? That'd be great too. It's $400 million, way too much for a budget. What should have made the top 25 list on Rotten Tomatoes? And how did you feel about Agatha? Was it a complete train wreck?
Was it Agatha or was it Billy all along?
It was not Agatha all along.
How about this? If it was Agatha all along, give us a like down below. But if it was Billy or William all along, make sure to comment.
Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't know which way you were going with that.
And how about this? If it was both, hit that subscribe button down below. Until next week, we bid you fale adieu.
Peace.
Peace out. Load 'em up, Dante. Bang, bang.
Ski ski.
For those with good taste.
You should have passed me the block, dude.
My bad.
Yeah. Where's my Dante? Where's my piece at?